Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Okay, so
Yes.
it is 10 o'clock, so let's go ahead and begin the class live for today. And since it looks like I'm familiar with everybody here, I'm not going to go through the instructions about how to use Zoom. So our topic today is exploring Microsoft Sway. And we will talk about what is Sway, PowerPoint versus Sway, just to make a brief comparison of them, some of the educational uses of it. I'll show you some examples and then give you a very brief tutorial on how to make a Sway, and then we'll talk about some of the pros and cons. So what is Microsoft Sway? It's just an online application. It's entirely online. You can use it to create presentations or what looks like web pages. And I would usually describe it as a kind of like a hybrid between slide presentations and web pages. It's available through the Office 365 online account, which is provided through Access UH. Or if you have a private Microsoft account, like an Outlook account or a Hotmail account, you have access to Sway. So I want to make some comparisons between PowerPoint and Sway because Sway is also, it can be used to create slide presentations, but but it can be used for more than that. So I thought maybe to start with something that you're familiar with, which is PowerPoint, to kind of describe what it is. And of course, I'll show you some examples in a little bit. So let's kind of look at the differences. PowerPoint uses slides, whereas Sway uses slides, and it has more movement between the slides, or it's called cards in Sway. So the movement from one, I guess, card to the next can be vertical or horizontal. In PowerPoint, the application kind of relies on a presenter. So for PowerPoint, when you create the presentation slides, the best practice is to put little information on the slides and then have a presenter elaborate on the information. Whereas Sway doesn't necessarily have to rely on a presenter, and you can put detailed text in it and it would still look natural. In PowerPoint, it's better for presenting data. PowerPoint comes with tools for you to create graphs and charts, whereas Sway, it's better for presenting images to tell stories. So Sway doesn't have some of the tools that PowerPoint has as far as creating, organizing like data, like data information. So since PowerPoint has been around for a long time, PowerPoint comes with thousands of templates, but Sway is relatively new, so it has a limited number of templates for you to use. And when we have time, we will take a look at some of the templates that are available. Now let's look at some educational uses of Sway. Of course, you can use it however you want. It's just a tool, and it's just just a supplement to help you in creating content, in creating learning activities and assessments. So it can be a substitute for what you typically use for slides, which I assume is probably PowerPoint. It can be used for documents and web applications. So I've listed some examples of different ways people have used Sway here. And we have presentations. You can create blogs with Sways, online newsletters. You can create digital stories, essays, reports. You can even make a resume or use it as a portfolio. And it comes with lots of options to organize images. So it can be used even purely as an image gallery. So next, let's look at some examples of sway so that we can get a better idea of how it's used. So on this page, I have I organized sway into a few groups that that I was able to kind of split it into. So the first group is how-to tutorials. The second is our examples of storytelling. Then there are reports. And then the last is just a good old presentation. Okay. So these two, the reason why I chose the how-to tutorials is because of the way it's laid out. I kind of wanted to show you what a sway can look like, can be used for, and it can be used to create something that looks kind of like a web page. And it can be made to just scroll vertically like this. And as you can notice, you can put a lot of text into sways, and it would just look very natural. Okay, so that's just one example. And this example, I think this was made by the Microsoft team just to explain what sway is and how you can use it. And I'll have this presentation, my presentation, embedded into our OET website later for you to come in and maybe click on some of these links and explore if you want. The next example is another how-to example or tutorial that also scrolls vertically. And you'll notice that the images appear with animation, and that's just an automatic feature for whenever you create anything inside of Sway and put images in it. Okay. So these are these how-to and tutorials are just examples of making sways that look kind of like web pages. And I believe one of the people from class instructional design, Wayne Thomas, will be covering a tool I think that's similar to Sway in a few weeks. Called Adobe Spark. So you'd want to maybe keep an eye out on that if you want to learn more about creating things that look like web pages. Now the next examples that I want to show you are ones that are used for more of a storytelling method. So the first one is called The Universe. And this one is definitely a storytelling one. And this one, Mount Rainier, is a blog one, and this last one is a storytelling one. So let's take a look at this. And something that I wanted to show you about the Sway tool is it comes with like a built-in table of contents. I guess that's the best way that I could call it, so that if you were to create something like this for students or for someone else to explore, they can go through and skip around the content if there's a lot of content. So that's pretty helpful. And you'll notice that as I'm scrolling through this, this story is has a lot of images in it. And something I like about what Sway does with some of the images sometimes, I guess it doesn't show up maybe in on this computer, but the one that whenever I was looking at this at my house, it had some animations on the images and made it look like you're kind of scrolling through it with a window over the images. I thought that was really neat. Okay. Oh, and another feature that I thought was neat about Sway is here it is. So if you click on the top right corner of a Sway, it's this area right here, the three dots, there's an option for accessibility view. So I thought this was really neat. If I click on accessibility view, it simplifies the Sway to make it easier for students who are using assistive technologies to explore your sway, and it makes it a vertical format. It increases the font sizes, and it does something else with the color too. If you have kind of a color scheme that's not easy for students, maybe with difficulty, with vision, then it will adjust the colors on your sway. So it will make it so that there's more contrast in your presentation. Okay. So let's look at another one. This one is more of a blog style, but it's similar to that last one that we saw on the universe. And I know that the past year or so, a lot of faculty have asked us about using blogs inside of their courses. And we usually recommend Blackboard tools because it's all in one place. But this is also a neat little tool that you can put into your toolbox and think about using if you want something that is much more visual. Okay. Now I included this one called Harvard Summer Photo Essay because I liked how this person who created this way used some of the images for this one. And the way that they did it, I'm going to scroll through this really quickly for you, is they included a photo gallery or photo collage here. So if there's an assignment, I can imagine maybe in the College of Fine Arts or something, where that would require a lot of images. I thought this was a neat feature of Sway that could be used depending on what project you're working on. So you would click on one image and then you would be able to scroll through the gallery. And of course you can exit and return to the blog. Okay. So next let's look at more report and essay types of Sways. So the one that I found was called 2017, a terrible year of freedom press in India. So I thought this was neat in that it looks like a news article. Oh, and this is what I was talking about earlier about it almost looks like it's moving inside of a window. So when you create a sway, there's an option where it will recommend to you. It's called Remix. You just click the button and it would just add all these different animations and just transform the sway that you have. And the choices that it makes are usually pretty good. And so I'm assuming that this person probably used the remix option too. So I thought this was neat. It looked like an article that I would read online from like the Washington Post or something. Okay. So moving on to the next one. Now I included this one because it just looked like, to me, it reminded me of an essay I would read, like from times.com or something. But of course, this was also made with Sway. And this is much more text heavy, but it also allowed, for this writer also included images in it. And it's very, very simple images, but it does help break up the text and make it feel a little bit less strenuous to read through some of this. So I thought this was neat. And you'll notice that there's picture captions. So as you create your sway, it's going to prompt you to put in picture captions, and that helps make your sways more accessible. Okay, so the last example that I want to look at is just a very plain example. And this one, I think this one is from like a junior high school student, but the previous ways are from maybe high school and higher education. But this one I thought was kind of neat because it looked like a classic presentation, but it still has a little bit more pizzazz to it because it's a sway. So I thought this one was pretty cute. And it's for people this style, it might be for those of you who might like something that resembles PowerPoint a little bit more, but maybe with some more animation. Okay. So let me get out of this. I'm gonna look at this Zoom thing really quickly. Okay. So those were some examples. So I hope that looking at some of these examples might give you some ideas on how you could use this application to support your teaching. Now that we've looked at some examples, let's just look at, well, how do I create a sway, and how difficult is it really? So to create a sway, I'd recommend using your Access U of H account and then clicking on the Office 365 icon and then logging in with your CougarNet ID. So I'll just do this quickly for you so you can see how I do it. And it's right here, Office 365. For some reason, it's taking a little bit longer than usual to load. Okay, there we go. And it gives you the link, and then it reminds you what the ID is for you to log in. So you'll be using your CougarNet plus the @cougarnet.uh.edu to sign in. Now I'm already logged in, so it leads me to this dashboard, but for you, you would have to have that ID and then just use your CougarNet password to log in. So here I can see all the different Office 365 tools that are available, and Sway is the one that's on the right. You'll also notice that there are a lot of things that you probably use on an everyday basis, your Outlook, maybe Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, okay? So let's just go to Sway. And I'm going to create a new Sway. Let me take a look over here. Oh, before I do that, I'm sorry, I just got lost a little bit. I wanted to show you some of the templates that that Sway provides you, so that you don't necessarily have to start with something that's from scratch. So I got to here by clicking on more templates. And then there are just a few templates here. So let's just take a look at a few. The first one that I'm looking at is a blog style template. And this is what it looks like. And all you would need to do is to edit the text and replace some of these images. So as soon as I don't know if you can see here, you click on the Start Editing this Sway button, it will transfer this into your drive, and you can edit it however you want. So now this is what it looks like whenever it's inside of my drive. So this might look a little bit unfamiliar to you, but whenever I create a new Sway, it'll make more sense. So I'm going to close this blog, and if I went to, if I went to sway2office.com or just back to my 365 account, I'll see that this blog has been saved underneath my Sway. So I can go back and edit it anytime. So I'm going to go back to these templates. So let's look at another template that you might find useful for your course. This one's a newsletter one. And just like all the templates, everything is blank. There's prompts for you to replace the text. And then you can replace any of the images. So they're all just really nice templates. They look very modern, very visual. Okay, so let's look at another one. How about presentation? This one might be one that you could use a lot. So like all of the other Sways, it already has a table of contents built in for you. Of course, you can modify all this. And this one, I don't scroll up and down or left or right. I just use the left and right button to move through the presentation. Okay. And all the animations are already in place for you. You just replace the content. So that's just a beautiful presentation. Let's just look at one more example, and maybe let's look at a portfolio. So I can see portfolios being used inside of classrooms a lot. And I think this one might be a more visual, yeah, it's a more visual portfolio. And you know, when you use a template, you can of course rearrange any of the text, any of the images in here. Okay, so I'm not going to look at all of the templates, but you know, whenever you have time, maybe you can take a look at some of these templates here and explore for yourself. Just having some difficulty trying to navigate up here. Oh yes, so what I wanted to do here was to show you how to create a new sway. So if I go back to where I was, I just select new blank sway. And this is the work area that I'll be creating it in. Just imagine these as like your slides inside of PowerPoint. You are working in an area called Storyline. And if you want to see what you've created, you click on the Design tab, and then it'll show you. So right now I don't have anything, so you don't see anything. And then in the top right corner, you have the options to just view the presentation or play it. You can share it, and you can insert images. So why don't I just create a very basic sway so that you can see what it looks like. So for mine, I'm going to create one on Houston, and that's my title right there. And if I want to add another card or a slide to this, I would click on the plus symbol, and then it gives me suggestions to add heading, text, images, and a stack is just basically a stack of images. So if I click on the tab for text, I can see heading and text, but it should change more. I think it's because it wants me to create a heading first. And then I'll be able to see more. So let me click on this insert content button again. And when I click on text, I can choose from heading 1, heading 2, text. And if I click on media, I can choose image, video, audio. I can embed, and I can upload. Oh, so going back to this audio here, I thought this was really neat that you can just click audio and just record your voice directly over the sway. So you can narrate it if you wanted, you know, it to just tell the story on its own. Something I thought was really neat was this embed option. So you can embed anything like videos into your sway. You can even embed, from what I've read, you can even embed a sway into a sway. So you can create one and then put another one inside of it if you wanted to. And the last option for group is if you have several pictures, then you can group them together to create a grid, a comparison, or a stack of images. And earlier, the example that we looked at with the big photo collage, I believe he used this grid tool here. Okay. So let me show you what it looks like to add media in here. So here I'm going to I want to put in an image, and something that's really helpful about Sway is that it gives you suggestions for words that you can search for. So here, there's Houston. And I have this on the image tab here. Of course, I can just drag and drop an image into this area, or I can choose it from my OneDrive or YouTube or any of these suggested places here. So as I'm looking for images, you know, I'm thinking I probably want a big image so that it will look good in my computer screen. So I'll just choose this very first image for Houston. So I've added that. And for here, maybe I'll from Hello from Houston, maybe I'll choose a video or something like that. So I'm going to find University of Houston. Let's see if what shows up here. Oops, I didn't even spell that correctly. Sign dance. Okay, so let me just put something about Houston Rockets just to have something really quickly and not take too long.
Do you have time
Okay.
for a question?
Sure, of course.
Tell me about these images. Do you know, are these copyright-free images that we can use?
The images that it finds for you, there's the option to make it Creative Commons images only. So earlier, whenever I click on the image here, see there's a tab to find Creative
That's great.
Commons only images.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about these images later on because there's a way that it will find the images for you, and also credit it on the bottom for you too. So now that I have some content in here, I can take a look at the Design tab, and this is what it looks like. And so far, you know, I'm not very impressed with what it looks like, so I might want to change the style here. So I'll click on Styles, and I could view it as a vertical style. Horizontal was what it was before. I can click on Slides. I can change some of the fonts and the styles here. So there are quite a lot of options. I think I like vertical, but I'm also curious if I press the remix button, what it will try to do for me. So what it did was it made it into, made the images black and white and changed some of the fonts and font colors. And I can remix it as many times as I want and see what kind of styles it would choose for me. Okay, so I kind of like that, but I want it to be vertical, so maybe I'll leave it like this. Okay, so that's just a very basic tutorial of how you would create a sway from scratch. Another way that I wanted to show you was, and anytime anyone has any questions, feel free to interrupt, is you can start from a topic or you can start from a document. So if you, I've tried starting from a document, and I think that personally, I think it's just easier just to create new and then copy and paste, because sometimes it takes images from your document and it just doesn't look as good. But another option is to start from a topic, and I thought this was really neat. So what it does is, oops, sorry, I'm a little tangled up here. So what it does is when you type in the name of a topic, it will kind of do a little bit of research for you and then lay out some headings or an outline of the topic for you. And it will find images for you. So let's just take a look at what it will find for me if I wanted to create something about Houston. So I thought this might be, you know, just a neat little tool for students to use if they were doing some kind of research assignment, and starting from scratch might be a little bit difficult if they're looking for images for whatever topic they're covering. So this is what it came up with for me. So I noticed that, you know, there's the title and then the headings, history with some images, geography and some images. So let's take a look at what Sway was able to come up with for me. So it looks like this, right? Houston, history, some images, geography, demographics. Now, to me, this looks a little bit still kind of messy, so I might want to go to styles, maybe change the styles up a little bit and see just what it will do. I'm not a horizontal scrolling person. I kind of like it vertical. Okay, so notice that it just provides the images for me, and then what I need to do is go in there and edit the text. Let's try that. I think that takes us back to what it was before. So something that I thought I really liked about creating it from a topic is that you'll notice if you scroll to the very bottom, is that it will list all the images and where you found it for you at the bottom. So I thought that was, a really neat way to do it. Okay. And another thing that I really like about Sway is if I'm working on a Sway, I can check for accessibility here. And then view my own Sway in the accessibility view. So for example, if I go back to the Sway that I was presenting with, let me exit out of this. So this is what my Sway looks like. If I click on accessibility checker, here it tells me, look, you need to improve because you don't have any alt text here. So for my background image, I just have the name of the file. So I might want to type in that this is a background image and it's decorative, so it's not very important, right? And so if a student were using some kind of assistive technology to read this way that I made, they would know that it's just not important. So I would just, I would just go through some of these checkpoints that improvements area that it would suggest, and then I would make those corrections. So I thought that was pretty neat. Okay, so once you have created your Sway, if you want to share it inside of Blackboard, you can. You would just need to get an embed code or get a link to it. And what I did was I got an embed code and I put it inside of my Blackboard course. Oh, wrong course. And I put it on a content page. So what I did was I went to build content item and then I put it into the HTML area. And if you need any help with that, of course, reach out to Class IDT and we can help you with that. And so this is what it looks like inside of my Blackboard course. Now, anytime that I make any changes inside of my Sway from my own file, it'll just automatically update inside of my Blackboard course. I don't need to replace it again with a new presentation. So here, what I like about it is that it adapts to your screen. So as I'm scrolling through this, when I presented this presentation, of course, it's a very big screen, but whenever it's being displayed in a smaller screen, it adjusts itself. So notice how I can't see my whole list, but if I click on the scrolling button, it shows everything that's on my slide.
Excuse me, Tom.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can it be auto-played or you have to click the net? Okay.
Yes, so you can, there's an option in the top right corner of your Sway where, is it this, where, let me go back. I think it's in the design tab and I think, more options, maybe it's over here. It's in the top right corner somewhere. I just saw it earlier, but oh, I think I see it.
Okay. No problem. I mean, I just want to know whether there's an option here.
Yes,
I mean,
there is. So
yeah, if yes, I can search for that.
Yes,
thank
so
you.
Fong, yeah, it's an option in the top right corner. I just am missing it right now, but you can make it autoplay and you can set a timer for it so that it changes the cards every however many seconds you want it to. Okay, so I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought here. Was I on? Okay. Oh, I was here. So this is what it looks like whenever you have it inside of your Blackboard course. Okay. Now let's go back and just talk about some of the pros and cons of Sway. So since I'm at the very beginning of this, I'm just going to go back to my table of contents and click there. And here I am. Okay, so some of the pros about Sway is that it's free. Since it's online, it's collaborative. You can collaborate with other people on your Sway and make changes from each from your own computer. It's neat that it appears dynamic. It's not like a flat slide presentation. You can use it for storytelling, and it works with detailed text. It doesn't rely on the presenters. And Fong asked a really good question earlier, does it autoplay? You can put in your own voice recording and set the timer on. And once you send it out to students, they can just play it and it'll just move to the next slide for them. And since it has some search functions in it to find images and multimedia, you can really save yourself a lot of time. I like that it suggests some content for you, especially if you create a sway from the topic option, and it also suggests layouts. It also can be adapted for accessibility. Whoever is viewing your sway can just click on accessibility view and the whole presentation will change for them. So some drawbacks about sway is that as you're working on sway, the preview for it, I think, is a little bit kind of awkward because you're working on your cards and then you have to switch to the preview. Whereas in something like PowerPoint, so you would have to work right here in storyline and then you would switch to design to see what you were working on. So whereas something in PowerPoint, as you're editing it, you see what the slide looks like, right? Another thing is that Sway doesn't come with tools for tables or graphs, so it might not be the best tool for discussing or presenting research. And there are some options to customize, but not as much as PowerPoint. Okay, so I hope that this presentation would give you some ideas on what you can do inside of your classroom with Sway. Now, if you want to learn more, U of H provides a lynda.com account inside of your Access U of H portal. Just click on the lynda.com icon and type in the keyword for Sway at lynda.com. And there are lots of really good tutorials for it. And if you want to work with a live person, definitely send an email to classidT@uh.edu, and we can work with you to see how you can use this inside of your classroom. So that's all I have for you today. This recording is available for on-demand viewing later on. But right now, I can take any questions if anyone has any.
Tang, excuse me, this is Fang.
Yeah.
Thank you for the presentation. I have a couple questions.
Mm-hmm.
So first, if a faculty already has PowerPoint, like created like in 2017, and it has already like a recording,
Mm-hmm.
is it possible to import that to Sway and just play the because I really like the playing result. So is that possible to import already established the PowerPoint to Sway?
That's a really good question. Now, previously I showed you, okay, let me go to Sway. So right here, this is the option to start from a document. If you click on it, you should be able to insert a PowerPoint. Now, I'm not sure how good it looks. So we can right now just import this old class live that I have and see what it looks like.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so let's see. But yes, you can do PDFs, Word documents, and PowerPoints. So my presentation may have been kind of a big one, so I'm not sure how long this might take, but yeah, definitely give your faculty's PowerPoint a try inside of Sway and see if everything translates correctly. So I'm just wondering how the audio files would work in here. And you said that the faculty had audio files, right?
Okay, yeah, they have audio files.
Okay, so this was the class live presentation I did, I think, a year ago. So let's see. Ooh, okay, so the style, I don't really like that. I'm just gonna switch to slide style. Let me see. I'm going to move your box out of the way so I can go. So let's see here. Yeah, so what it does is some of the images that I have on here, it fills it into the screen. So it might not be what I want.
Okay.
So it depends on the format of your faculty's PowerPoint, but it does import into Sway, just maybe not.
Just need like a editing or remix, something like that. Okay, okay, got that. Thank you.
Yeah, good question. Okay, Are there any other questions?
Ton, I might have missed it. Once you're done, are you able to just to get a web link to pass this on to someone else?
A web link of the sway or
Of the final product, yeah.
the final. Oh, you're talking about my presentation here?
No, well, no, I'm saying once I create something in Sway
Mm-hmm.
and it's done,
Mm-hmm.
uh, how do I send it to somebody else to see it?
Yeah, so there's a share button in the top right corner. So here you can copy the link. Are you able to see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, just copy the link here, or get an embed code if you want to embed it somewhere.
And do you know, are there ways that I can lock down privacy on that, or is it just open to anybody?
I believe right here it says require a password to view or edit this way. So you can maybe fiddle with that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of
Hi,
course.
Tom. Excuse me. I have a question. It's kind of related to what Wayne just asked.
Mhm.
So I see that you can share a sway by get a shareable link.
Mhm.
But is there a way to download a sway?
Yes. Yes. So if you see in your top right corner, there are 3 dots,
Mhm.
and then you can export it. And what it does is it exports, you can export it into like an accessible PDF looking file. So there's PDF and then there's Word. So if I were to export this presentation that I'm doing right now, let's just give it maybe like 10 seconds.
Mhm.
So it should give me something that looks kind of like a PowerPoint.
Oh, yeah, I
So
see.
it
That's
looks like,
nice.
oh, I'm sorry, I just realized that you guys, I need to minimize you guys because it's blocking.
Uh-huh.
Uh, okay, so this is what it looks like.
Mhm.
Okay,
I see. Thank you.
yes, thank you, good question. Okay, so at this point, if there are no other questions, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you very much for being a part of this class live, and send class IDT at uh.edu and email anytime you have any questions. Okay, have a good day.